Why are birds falling from the sky? A mysterious rain of thousands of dead birds darkened New Year's Eve in Arkansas, and this week similar reports streamed in from Louisiana, Sweden, and elsewhere. But the in-air bird deaths aren't due to some apocalyptic plague or insidious experiment, they happen all the time, scientists say. The recent buzz, it seems, was mainly hatched by media hype. At any given time there are at least 10 billion birds in North America, and there could be as much as 20 billion, and almost half die each year due to natural causes, said ornithologist Greg Butcher, Director of Bird Conservation for the National Audubon Society in Washington, D.C. But what causes dead birds to fall from the sky en masse? The Arkansas case points to two common culprits: loud noises and crashes. Beginning at roughly 11:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve, Arkansas wildlife officers started hearing reports of birds falling from the sky in a square-mile area of the city of Beebe. Officials estimate that up to 5,000 red-winged blackbirds, European starlings, common grackles, and brown-headed cowbirds fell before midnight. Results from preliminary testing released Wednesday by the National Wildlife Health Center in Madison, Wisconsin, show the birds died from blunt force trauma, supporting preliminary findings released by the Arkansas Livestock and Poultry Commission on Monday. They collided with cars, trees, buildings, and other stationary objects, said ornithologist Karen Rowe of the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. Right before they began to fall, it appears that really loud booms from professional-grade fireworks, 10 to 12 of them, a few seconds apart, were reported in the general vicinity of a roost of the birds, flushing them out, Rowe said. There were other, legal fireworks set off at the same time that might have then forced the birds to fly lower than they normally do, below treetop level, and these birds have very poor night vision and do not typically fly at night. The dead birds found in Arkansas are of species that normally congregate in large groups in fall or winter. The record I've heard is 23 million birds in one roost, Audubon's Butcher said. In that context, 5,000 birds dying is a fairly small amount, according to National Geographic News. However, Stephen Hawking is a genius. There's no two ways about that. When he isn't expounding on the enigmatic nature of black holes, he's terrifying us with the potential ways the world might end. Luckily for us, Hawking's a scientist, so the end he's talking about isn't in any biblical sense. Even so, it's no less scary. While technology is often seen as the solution to the problems faced by man, Hawking believes that it is precisely this that will ultimately bring about our downfall. And one of his principal fears, and a great example of the dangers technology poses, are man-made viruses. Hollywood has bombarded us with movies, from the regular zombie outbreak fare to the pandemic-themed ones like Contagion. The dangers of genetically engineered viruses, though, aren't fictional and are truly, terrifyingly worrying. To give you a sense of perspective, let's for a moment consider Ebola. Ebola is objectively terrifying, with victims hemorrhaging and, in most cases, dying. However, as we saw with the 2014-15 outbreak, its ability to spread is limited, stopping it from reaching pandemic levels. Genetically modified viruses, however, are capable of a whole lot more. In 2011, immediately after the H5N1 virus, bird flu, briefly captured the world's attention, a Dutch research team decided to take things up a notch. Through the magic of science, they mutated the hell out of the virus to produce a far more infectious one. Even though the genetic structure of the newly created virus only differed from the original by 5 mutations, it was capable of unprecedented levels of destruction. How so? By making it airborne. It wasn't even that the virus wasn't already bad enough, it killed over half its victims. By making it airborne, the newly created virus could, according to conservative scientific estimates, infect over half the world's population. Mercifully, it was only done for research purposes. Still, it doesn't change the fact that in today's ever more sophisticated world, we're able to weaponize the already terrible viruses that exist. Stephen Hawking is worried a genetically engineered supervirus could end us all, and he isn't wrong. The publication of their findings were barred for fear of giving bioterrorists a new weapon. Research on the virus was subsequently halted. However, that doesn't entirely safeguard us from the potential hazards of a supervirus. While the Hollywood-esque possibility of a bioterror attack seems like the most likely threat, the bigger one is far more mundane, a simple accident in a science lab. It's precisely this that has led to the formulation of restrictions governing where and under what circumstances research like this is permitted. However, this minimizes the risk, it doesn't eliminate it. The way forward. The logical solution you'd imagine is to stop such research altogether. The problem though is that this approach may put us in even more danger. Scientists argue that this research is integral in understanding how naturally occurring viruses mutate and evolve. In fact, in creating such a supervirus, researchers found out for the first time that the H5N1 virus was capable of mutating to be transmittable between mammals. By creating such viruses before they're able to mutate similarly in the wild, we're able to preempt vaccines and other precautionary measures. It could help us prevent the possible development of these superviruses altogether. Ultimately, it's a catch-22, where we're possibly damned if we do and we're similarly under threat if we don't. Could the bird flu have been released like in many lab accidents and is just now adapting to humans? Here is a list of accidents. Environmental releases. 1 April 1, 02 Uzam Riad, Fort Detrick, MD. Accident type, accidental release, exposure of personnel. Agent, anthrax, BSL 2, 3, and 4. Description, researcher tested positive for exposure to anthrax spores, which were also released into adjacent hallway and office. 5. 2. April 2, 02 Uzam Riad, Fort Detrick, MD. Accident type, accidental release, exposure of personnel. Agent, anthrax, BSL 2, 3, and 4. Description, one worker tested positive for anthrax exposure after second leak at Uzam Riad. 3. March 1, 03 Federal Express, Columbus, O. Accident type, environmental release. Agent, West Nile virus, BSL 2 and 3. Description, a package containing the West Nile virus exploded in a Federal Express building, exposing workers to possible infection. 4. June 1, 03 Uzam Riad, Fort Detrick, MD. Accident type, environmental release. Agent, brucellosis, BSL 2 and 3, anthrax, BSL 2, 3, and 4, Ebola, BSL 4, and others. Description, the U.S. Army unearthed 113 bacteria-containing vials during an excavation to eliminate toxic chemicals and hazardous waste. The vials, which contained live strains of brucellosis and non-virulent anthrax, had been buried between 1955 and 1970. 5. 2001, suspected, Uzam Riad, Fort Detrick, MD, or Brattelli Memorial Institute. Columbus, O. Accident type, intentional release. Agent, anthrax, BSL 2, 3, and 4. Description, anthrax spores used in 2001 mail attacks that killed 5 persons. Contained properties that could only have been manufactured in one of a small number of sophisticated government or corporate laboratories. 6. Mid-2004 NIH campus in Bethesda, Maryland. Accident type, containment failure. Agent, no specific agent reported. Description, a steam valve from the biological waste treatment tanks failed at Building 41A. The building houses BSL 3 and BSL 4 labs. Major damage was caused and the building was closed for repairs. 7. 09/04 University of Illinois at Chicago. Accident type, containment/security failure. Agent, no specific agent reported. Description, law workers at a BSL 3 facility propped open doors of the lab in its anteroom, a major safety violation. An alarm that should have sounded did not. 8. May 15, 04 to September 15, 04 Boston University Medical Center, Clinical Microbiology and Molecular Diagnostics Laboratory, Boston, MA. Accident type, infection of personnel. Agent, tularemia, BSL-2 and 3. Description, 3 scientists infected with tularemia over 5-month period, while dozens more exposed. Incidents not discovered or reported for over 6 months. 9. June 11, 04 Children's Hospital and Research Center, Oakland, CA. Accident type, exposure of personnel. Agent, anthrax, BSL-2, 3, and 4. Description, Southern Research Institute inadvertently sent live, rather than dead, anthrax samples to researchers in Oakland, resulting in exposure of 7 scientists. Problem detected after 49 of 50 mice quickly died after inoculation with anthrax samples. No human infections reported. 10. May 5, 04 State Research Center of Virology and Biotechnology, Russia. Accident type, infection of personnel. Agent, Ebola virus, BSL-4. There are many more, but you get the idea. Stay paranoid, my friends.